Join us now on last night's first presidential debate, Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. He co-chairs the Biden campaign. And, Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Do you?
Good to see you, Joe. It's always good to be on with you. It was quite a late night, and I'm looking forward to talking it over with you.
Let's talk it over. And tough. It's just a tough subject for us. I know you've heard a lot of the commentary. Are you urging the president to hang in there, and it's full speed ahead for the reelection of President Biden at this point, Senator?
I am. And look, frankly, it was a rough night in which neither of these candidates gave their best performance. But I think the difference was clear, and the difference gives the American people the contrast that they need and they deserve. Yeah, Joe Biden's voice was raspy, but the difference in his optimism and his record compared to Donald Trump's torrent of lies and aggression was stark. This is a country right now where the stock market just hit an all-time high, where crime is going down, where we are producing record amounts of energy, both oil and gas and renewable energy, and where, frankly, we have the lowest rate of unemployment since the Second World War. Some of the things Donald Trump chose to lie about last night were really hard for Joe Biden to handle. He lied about how much Joe Biden has supported and loves veterans. He lied about his own record of saying despicable things about veterans, something his own chief of staff, a decorated Marine, confirmed. To me, one of the most memorable but depressing lines of the night was the former president saying, "I didn't have sex with a porn star," and the conversation between the two of them about our future in NATO and the Indo-Pacific, the inflationary and delusional ideas that Donald Trump put out as his policies, and the strong and defensible record that Joe Biden has of making a lasting difference in investing in infrastructure, rebuilding manufacturing, and putting our stock market on a very strong footing. I think overall, the American people got to see the contrast in their records and their views of the future that they deserve.
Senator, I think we've talked about, I forget the term used where it's a hate kind of an election. So, I mean, the people that don't like Donald Trump are very well aware of a lot of the things that you just said. I'm just not sure that that's going to be enough in terms of supporting President Biden after last night. And Senator, just
Joe, I think the term you're looking for is they're called double haters.
Double haters.
So people who don't like the choice in front of them.
Just Donald Trump aside, I mean, just let's just leave him out. Let's say that it was, Charlie Manson. I mean, I'll grant you that. That's what some people think of. I think he's actually up for a lot more felonies than Charlie Manson, believe it or not. But let's say it's Charlie Manson. Let's just talk about President Biden and what he'll be like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. That's what people are worried about. And we've all seen it maybe in our own family. And it's tough. And, we're all at a certain age where, organs like kidneys and everything eventually goes, and so does the mind. And it just looked to a lot of people like he's not in a position to handle the job of the presidency for another 4 years, much less for the end of this term.
Well, I disagree, Joe. And I think Joe Biden, our president, is going to need to show the American people that Joe Biden, that those of us who work closely with him know. He had a very strong and forceful State of the Union speech, and he's got the chance at a convention speech, at a second debate, and as he's on the road today in North Carolina and the days ahead, to show that this was just one bad debate. Former President Obama had a terrible first debate when he was running for re-election, and then promptly was able to show the American people that he was in full command of his agenda for his second term. I believe President Biden will do the same thing. I also think he's got a fundamental difference between his view of America, his optimism, his confidence in us, and his clear-eyed capabilities on the world stage and here at home that is in such sharp contrast to Donald Trump that folks are going to make a choice for Joe Biden.